Good morning. I'm Mitch Mitchell, Chair of the San Diego Housing Commission Board of Commissioners. It is 9:01 a.m. on September 20th, 2022, and I'm calling to order the special meeting of the board and the special closed session meeting of the board, which will be held at the end of today's agenda items. The process we are using for today's meeting is authorized by Government Code Section 54953E, which was added by Assembly Bill 361. This allows the Housing Commission to use teleconferencing and to provide the public with an opportunity to address the board through a call-in or an internet-based option during a proclaimed state of emergency. The San Diego City Council on September 13th, 2022 declared that a state of emergency continues to directly impact the ability of members to meet safely in person. The council also declared that this applies to all boards, commissions, and committees of the city of San Diego. Today's special meetings are occurring by video conference with all board members. Four board members, our interim president and CEO, housing commission staff, and general counsel participating by video. For the record, I will ask each board member to indicate your presence as I say your name. Vice Chair Ryan Klumpner.
Here.
Commissioner Stephanie Benvenuto.
Here.
Well, that wasn't very cheery.
I'm here and so pleased to be.
Okay. Commissioner Joanna Hester. Commissioner Kelly Hubbard. Commissioner Melinda Vasquez.
What about the fucking bullywog?
Here.
Okay, well, I was like, okay.
That was not me.
I was like, your voice sounds a little different, Commissioner Vasquez. I was,
And my language.
Okay, it's different. Okay, good. No members of the public are in attendance. However, members of the public may watch the video conference and hear the audio of today's meeting, which is being streamed live online. The agenda for today's meeting is included in a link to the website for the San Diego Housing Commission Board of Commissioners, where the public can access the live streaming for today's meeting. The public has also been provided with an alternative opportunity to provide comments to the board through an online comment form and a toll-free phone number. A link to the online comment form was included on the agenda for today's special meeting, which was posted on the San Diego Housing Commission website at www.sdhc.org on September 14th. The special meeting agenda for the closed session today was posted on the Housing Commission's website as well on Sunday, September 18th. The agendas in the public comment form explained the comments about items on the agenda will be read into the record if they were submitted by 4 p.m. yesterday, September 19th. Non-agenda public comments submitted by 8 o'clock this morning will also be read into the record. In addition, members of the public who wish to speak on an item may call the toll-free number that is included on the agendas, and members of the public should monitor the meetings through the live video streaming available through the Housing Commission website. Once again, that is www.sdhc.org. Again, today's agenda includes a link to the website for this board, for the board, where the public can access a live stream for today's meeting. Members of the public should call the toll-free number only when they wish to comment on an item that is introduced. If a caller begins to comment on any item that is different from the item currently being considered, they will be asked to hang up and call back into the meeting at the correct time. Members of the public will each have 3 minutes to provide their comments. However, if a large number of callers wish to speak on a single agenda item, comments will be limited to 1 minute each. We will now proceed with the non-agenda public comments. Phone line is now open to provide non-agenda public comments, and the phone number is listed on screen. Please call 833-610-2513 to be placed in the queue. The phone line will remain open for the next 90 seconds to allow time for members of the public to call. This is the time when members of the public may also provide comments to the Housing Commission Board about topics that are not on today's agenda, but involve a subject within the Housing Commission's area of responsibility. The Housing Commission cannot take action on any non-agenda public comments. The number again is 833-610-2513. We did not receive any written non-agenda public comments for today's meeting. I will now ask our Vice President of Communications, Scott Marshall, if we have any callers for the non-agenda public comments.
We do not currently have any callers. There are about 50 seconds left on the clock. That concludes the time and there are no callers.
Thank you very much, Scott. This concludes the non-agenda public comment period portion. Now I will ask the commissioners if any of you would like to make any comments as we prepare to start today's meeting. Okay, seeing no comments from the commissioners, we'll move next to the report from interim president and CEO, Jeff Davis. Jeff, the next item on the agenda is yours.
Thank you and good morning, Chair and Commissioners. I have just a few brief agency updates to share with you this morning. First, this week, the Housing Commission welcomes the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials, or NARO, to San Diego for their national conference. The conference theme this year is NARO Together, Advancing Our Communities. The conference starts on Thursday and will run through Saturday at the Marriott Marquis San Diego Marina. This is the first time since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic that the event will be held in person, and it looks to have record attendance. Staff volunteers will serve as session hosts and perform additional duties during the conference. Staff will be presenting 2 seminars during the conference, one on moving the needle on homelessness and another on affordable housing development and preservation. The Housing Commission will also be providing a tour of about a dozen of our affordable rental housing properties. These properties will highlight our innovative collaborations with developers and service providers to provide housing for families with low income or those experiencing homelessness. The conference is a great opportunity to connect with leaders nationwide in the area of affordable housing, to share our innovative programs with them and to hear from them about the successes and challenges that they are experiencing in their communities. I look forward to bumping into the 4 commissioners who have registered for the conference. On September 9th, our Executive Vice President of Strategic Initiatives, Lisa Jones, joined Mayor Todd Gloria, Council Member Jennifer Campbell, County Board of Supervisor Chair Nathan Fletcher, and Alpha Project CEO Bob McElroy for a news conference to announce the opening of a new homelessness shelter. At your May 5th meeting of this board, authorized the Housing Commission to enter into a contract with Alpha Project for the operation of this shelter, which is now known as the Rosecrans Shelter. This shelter provides beds for up to 150 people. It will offer on-site behavioral health services and 24-hour intakes 7 days a week. Shelter residents will be offered services such as mental health and addiction treatment assessments, communicable disease screenings, case management, and housing navigation. Available services will also include meals, showers, restrooms, laundry, storage for belongings, and connections to self-sufficiency benefits like CalWorks, CalFresh, and Medi-Cal. The shelter supports the goals of the Community Action Plan on Homelessness for the City of San Diego. The breadth of services at the Rosecrans Shelter offers an extensive collaboration among many organizations, and it makes this shelter a unique, essential addition to serve some of the most vulnerable people experiencing homelessness in the city. And finally, this summer, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development awarded 138 additional rental housing vouchers to the Housing Commission. Of these vouchers, 50 are known as mainstream vouchers, which help pay rent for households with low income, in which adults are between the ages of 18 and 61 and have a disability. The additional 88 vouchers are known as incremental vouchers, which are typical Section 8 housing choice vouchers that will help pay rent for families with low income. This is a very exciting development, as these are the first non-specialized vouchers that we've received in as long as I can remember. I don't need to tell you that these are important additions, as many families in the San Diego area with low income continue to experience a shortage of affordable housing in a very competitive, expensive rental market. For some additional context, as of June 30th, the Housing Commission helps pay rent for more than 17,000 households with low income. Those households consist of about 38,000 individuals. However, more than 128,000 households are currently on our waiting list. This is an issue across the country. Nationally, HUD estimates that only 1 in 4 eligible households for rental assistance actually receive it. So under your direction and with your continuing support, we will continue to advocate for more rental housing funding and voucher allocations at the federal level. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Appreciate the report. And for the record, how many vouchers now? So we received 138 additional, but how many total do we have and that we control?
Including all specialized vouchers, we are just over 17,000.
Just over 17,000. Perfect. Thank you very much. All right. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the Housing Commission's Board special meeting of July 8th, 19th, and August 23rd. The phone line is now open for public comments about the minutes meetings. Please dial 833-610-2513 to be placed in the queue, and the phone line will remain open for 90 seconds to allow time for members of the public to call in. No written public comments were submitted regarding the minute. And again, the number to call, 833-610-2513. Scott Marshall, caller at this time.
We do not have any callers yet. We have about a minute and 5 seconds on the clock. That concludes the time and there are no callers.
Thank you very much, Scott. This concludes the public comment period for the minutes. Now I'd ask my fellow commissioners, do any of you wish to make any changes to the minutes? And if there are no changes, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Vice Chair Klempner,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Benvenuto. So we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the Housing Commission's Board's special meetings of July 8th, August 19th, and August 23rd. For the record, I will ask each commissioner to say your vote on the motion when I state your name. Vice Chair Klempner.
Aye.
Commissioner Benvenuto,
Aye.
Commissioner Vasquez,
Aye.
and I believe that Commissioner Hester and Commissioner Hubbard are both still absent from the meeting thus far. So therefore, I will add my I vote in favor, and so the commissioners have voted in favor 4-0, with 2 commissioners being absent and no opposed. So motion carries. We'll now move on to the consent agenda. This morning, I'm proposing that the following items be approved on the consent agenda, and those items are listed on the agenda as item 100, item 102, item 104, and item 105. Just to be appropriate, put the item 100, item 102, item 104, and item 105. The phone line is now open for public comments about these 4 items. Please call 833-610-2513 to be placed in the queue. And the phone line will remain open for 90 seconds to allow members of the public to call in related to any of these items. Written public comments were submitted regarding these 4 items. And again, the number to call is on the screen, 833-610-2513. Scott Marshall, do we have any callers at this time?
We do not have any callers. We have about a minute left on the clock. The time has concluded and we do not have any callers.
Thank you very much, Scott. This concludes the public comment period for items 100, 104, and 105. My fellow commissioners, do you have any comments on these items? Or if not, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Benvenuto and a second by Vice Chair Klumpner. So for the record, I will ask each commissioner, any further comments? Seeing none, for the record, I will ask each commissioner to say your vote on the motion when I state your name. Vice Chair Klumpner,
Aye.
Commissioner Benvenuto,
Aye.
Commissioner Vasquez,
Aye.
and I don't believe that Commissioner Hester or Commissioner Hubbard are present yet, so I will vote and add my vote in favor of the motion, which carries now 4-0 with Commissioners Hubbard and Hester being absent. We'll now move on to the remaining items on the agenda for discussion this morning, and we will take one item in different order than it appears on the agenda. The slide on the screen shows the order in which the items will be presented. And this is the first item we will hear is item 106. This is the tentative agreement for the memorandum of understanding with the Service Employees International Union Local 221. And the remaining two items after that will be items 101 and 103, we heard in numerical order. The PowerPoint presentations were emailed to the commissioners yesterday, September 19th, and are posted on the Housing Commission's website. Again, item 106 is the tentative agreement for a memorandum of understanding with Service Employees International Union Local 221. The phone line is now open for public comments about the first item to be heard, this being item 106. Please call 833-610-2513 to be placed in the queue. No written public comments were submitted regarding this item. And again, the number to dial is 833-610-2513. We will take public comments after the staff presentation, and making that presentation will be our Executive Vice President of Business Administration and Chief Financial Officer, Suket Dial, and who will also be joining him for this presentation is Vice President of Human Resources, Michael McKenna. And with that, we'll begin when you guys are ready.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Mitchell and Commissioners. I am Suket Dayal, Executive Vice President of Business Administration and Chief Financial Officer, and I'm here with Michael McKenna, Vice President of Human Resources. Today, we seek your approval on the proposed tentative agreement for a 2-year Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, between the San Diego Housing Commission and Service Employees International Union, SEIU Local 221. Next slide, please. The current 3-year MOU between SEIU and the Housing Commission expired on June 30th. Prior to that, on February 24th, the Housing Commission received the intent to bargain notice from the SEIU, effectively reopening the existing MOU, and then received SEIU's bargaining proposals. On May 5th, this board designated individuals as the Housing Commission's representatives on the management team for negotiations with the Housing Commission's recognized labor organization, SEIU. Later in closed session, we received direction, subject to Housing Authority approval, on parameters for proceeding with the negotiations. And on May 17th, the Housing Authority confirmed the identified individuals as the Housing Commission's representatives for negotiations. They met in closed session with the negotiators on May 24th, and at that time, we were given direction for ensuing negotiations. We began meeting regularly with the SEIU's bargaining team on May 31st and concluded negotiations on September 2nd. 13 bargaining sessions were conducted during that period of time. A representative from the City of San Diego's Independent Budget Analyst's Office was present at all negotiating sessions. Lisa Bryan and Jillian Kissy from the office are with us here today. Pleased to announce the parties have now reached a deal in principle. The SEIU had a contract ratification vote with the Housing Commission members, and it passed on September 13th. Before I pass it on to Michael to share the details, we want to thank the SEIU and all bargaining team members for negotiating in good faith. Both sides working for what's best for the team and the agency's long-term success. Next slide, please. Michael.
Thank you, Suket. Good morning. The tentative agreement contains the following essential changes to the MOU: a 2-year agreement, cost of living adjustments of 5% in FY23 and 4% in FY24, increased healthcare flex benefits of 3% in each year of the agreement, a 2-year remote work pilot program, and 2 additional holidays, Juneteenth and a floating holiday. The agreement also provides for revisions to other articles, including but not limited to Article 19 pay plan, Article 21 bilingual pay, Article 23 mileage reimbursement, Article 34 bereavement leave, and Article 36 educational incentive. Next slide, please. As shown on this slide, the estimated cost to implement the increase in healthcare flex credit and COLA per year in each year of the agreement is $2,026,421 in FY23 and $1,736,445 in FY24. Next slide, please. We now ask that you take the following actions. Approve the tentative agreement for a 2-year agreement, 2-year MOU between the Housing Commission and SEIU Local 221. Authorize the President and Chief Executive Officer or designee to implement the changes being proposed for represented employees and implement applicable changes for the non-represented employees of SDHC as well, as has been SDHC's past practice. Next slide, please. Authorize the President and CEO or designee to substitute the funding sources with other available funding sources, so long as the total program project budget amount after substitution does not exceed the approved total budget should the operational need arise or should such actions be to the benefit of SDHC and its mission. And authorize the President and CEO or designee to execute all documents and instruments that are necessary and or appropriate to implement these approvals in a form approved by General Counsel, and to take such actions as are necessary and or appropriate to implement these approvals, provided that a copy of the documents signed as to form by General Counsel are submitted to each Housing Commissioner. Next slide, please. That concludes our presentation. We're available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you to both of you for your work and efforts on this. And we will now go to any callers that may have called into the queue for comments.
We have 3 callers in the queue. Excuse me.
Thank you, Scott. Please proceed.
Our first caller is number ending in 5968 from SEIU Local 221. You may begin your comments. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Chair Mitchell and Commissioners. My name is Crystal Irving, and I am proud to serve as President of SEIU Local 221. We are pleased with the tentative agreement for the Memorandum of Understanding that SEIU was able to reach with the San Diego Housing Commission, as it shows an investment in our workforce and the important work that they do. We are grateful to the staff and leadership of the Commission in getting us to this agreement after a long and sometimes bumpy road. But I must also use this opportunity to ensure that the board is aware that we currently have 2 outstanding unfair labor practices that have been filed before the San Diego Housing Commission. One of them is the practice of the Housing Commission hiring staff as unrepresented that should have the benefits and protection of the union. And the second is preventing employees from benefiting from union representation when in a performance improvement plan meeting. And I must say that in both cases, we're optimistic that the Commission can resolve these issues so that the union and the organization can focus on the important work that the Housing Commission does for the community. Again, we ask the board to vote yes on this contract, and we ask for your attention and support in resolving these unfair labor practices so that we can all move forward powerfully for our workers and the communities that we get to serve. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next caller. Our next caller is number ending in 3881, Irma Shute. You may begin your comments. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Irma Shute, and I support this this MOU. We worked really hard, and we work really hard at the Housing Commission to provide excellent service to our clients and tenants and landlords. Thank you for your time, and thank you everyone that worked on this bargaining session. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We have two more callers in the queue. The next caller, our next caller is number ending in 1007, Mary Gorman. You may begin your comments. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Mary Gorman. I'm a housing assistant at San Diego Housing Commission, and I support this contract. It's pretty consistent with what the city and county of San Diego are doing, as well as other housing agencies in California. As a resident of San Diego, many of my neighbors are city and county employees, and of course we talk. It's good for the overall morale of the workforce to know that our pay and benefits parity is nearly equal across the board. It also shows us that our upper management and the board values our hard work and recognize all that we have accomplished. So please approve this contract. I'll be volunteering for the NARO conference, so hopefully I'll get to meet you guys in person. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. And we have one more caller. Caller with the number ending in 1650, Maria Colazo. You may begin making your comments. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Maria Collazo. I'm a housing assistant with the San Diego Housing Commission. I'm also part of SEIU, and we were part of the bargaining team. First of all, I want to say thank you for all the fair negotiations that we were able to make at the table. And I want to request that this MOU is passed and approved. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. That concludes the callers on this item.
All right, wonderful. That concludes the public comment period for item 106. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments on this item? All right.
I do actually, if you don't mind. Thank you, Chair. I want to start, thank you obviously to the folks who sat at that negotiation table. It's really important that we get this sort of stability in the agreement. And I know that there's a lot that goes into those discussions, and I appreciate the time that took. I'm curious if we could just talk a little bit about how those numbers, how we came to those numbers. Those are more generous than what I remember in the past that we've landed on. And I mean, I can make some assumptions about what contributed to that, to landing at the 5 and 4 respectively, but would love to hear a little bit more.
All right. Michael or Suket, 1 and 2. You're on mute, Michael.
Thank you. Apologies. I'd be happy to answer that question. Quite frankly, there's a lot of consideration that went into it. When we started at the outset of negotiations, the first thing we did was we looked at comparative agencies and organizations throughout the state of California to see what their most recent MOUs and collective bargaining agreements look like. You know, that's always a good broad picture of what sort of COLAs and cost of living increases and those sorts of financial numbers look like. So we use that as our initial baseline. And then we relied heavily on what the city was doing right next door to us. And in particular, we looked at the MEA agreement that they had reached a couple years ago with that organization. And those numbers fall directly in line with where we ended up in this negotiation. And of course, we also took into account all of the economic factors like inflation, you know, the cost of gasoline, all that stuff that's built into the current sort of economic situation. So I think your observation is absolutely correct. They do skew higher than what we've done in the past. And it's based on a number of those factors that we put together, looked at. And of course, there's always the issue of affordability. What can the Housing Commission afford? And with all of that into consideration, this is where we landed at the end of negotiations.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and I can certainly understand that. I appreciate the look toward best practices when it comes to what would make sense. And then I just really want to say that that remote work pilot, I've been so proud of how the Housing Commission leadership has leaned in on that and really embraced the flexibility that's been presented versus kind of trying to revert back to some more rigid structures that clearly the workforce doesn't love. And so I say from my office, but I just want to say thank you for really pursuing that line, and I'm glad to find that there was agreement there. I really look forward to the lessons learned in regard to that pilot effort too.
Absolutely.
So, that does it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Benvenuto. Any further comments from other commissioners? Before we ask for a motion on this item, I will make a couple of comments. First of all, congrats to the team. I know that as Commissioner Benvenuto said that the numbers looked a little different, but I think that one of the things that happens, today more than ever, that needs to happen today more than ever is, being a responsible agency means you're taking into consideration the things that are happening in and around the building. And I think when you think about what's happening in San Diego County, the cost of living, being voted as one of the we've become a region that is known as one of the toughest to make it work, and the cost of living adjustment, the COLA discussions these days have a far greater meaning and are more significant overall because of the cost of living and what's happening. And so I'll give you credit for reaching agreement on this with SEIU. I also will echo that I love the fact that the remote working is happening and continuing under the pilot. There's a new norm now because of the pandemic, and I think we're testing what the new norm will be and ensuring that we are still being productive. We have a very, very large task at the Housing Commission to serve thousands of people, to be a multi-factor, multifunctional organization that is essential. So I commend you on that. And last but not least, I love the holiday policy. One of the things we've talked about is that there are a variety of holidays that may not be one of the recognized city or state holidays, but they are holidays that may be important to our individual employees. And by giving them this opportunity to use a floater holiday to celebrate a holiday that is important to them is truly progress for the agency and organization. So with that being said, do no further comments or discussion. Do I have a motion on this item?
So moved.
Motion by Vice Chair Klempner. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Melinda will second.
Second by Commissioner Vasquez. All right, so we have a motion by Vice Chair Klempner, second by Commissioner Vasquez. I will call, as I say your name, please state your vote in favor of, or state your vote on the motion. Vice Chair Klempner,
Aye.
Commissioner Benvenuto,
Aye.
Commissioner Vasquez,
Aye.
and I will add my I vote in favor of the motion. Commissioner Hester and Commissioner Hubbard are still absent and will be noted in the minutes. So the motion carries 4-0, and we will now move on to the next item on the agenda. Item 101, the State of California Housing and Community Redevelopment Local Housing Trust Fund project revision. The phone line is now open for public comments about item 101. Please dial 833-610-2513 to be placed in the queue. No written public comments were submitted regarding this item. Again, the number to call is 833-610-2513. We will take public comments after the staff presentation, and Vice President of Multifamily Housing and Finance, Jennifer Kreuter, will present this item, and you are set to begin when ready.
Good morning, Chair Mitchell and Commissioners. The item before you today is a request to recommend that the Housing Authority of the City of San Diego approve a revision to the projects listed in the previously approved Housing Authority resolution for $5 million in funding from the State of California's Local Housing Trust Fund program. Next slide. To provide background, on July 10, 2020, this SDHC Board of Commissioners approved the Housing Commission's request to apply to HCD's Local Housing Trust Fund NOFA for the maximum funds of $5 million. On July 28, 2020, the Housing Authority approved the Housing Commission's request to apply for $5 million. The Housing Authority approved resolution conformed to the HCD resolution requirements at that time. By the NOFA's application deadline of August 3rd, 2020, the Housing Commission submitted an application for funding. On January 13th, 2021, HCD requested the Housing Commission revise the previously approved Housing Authority resolution in order to incorporate a list of projects to which the NOFA funds would be applied. On February 5th, 2021, HCD informed the Housing Commission that $5 million in Local Housing Trust Fund had been awarded contingent upon that revised resolution. Next slide. In order to incorporate HCD's request to include a list of projects, SDHC Board of Commissioners approved the recommendation to the Housing Authority on March 5th, 2021 to revise the resolution. The following month, the Housing Authority approved said revised resolution. 3 of the 4 projects that were listed in the revised resolution are now under construction. Those projects are Jamboree Housing's PSH at San Isidro, Community Housing Works' Ulrich Street Apartment 1, and Kingdom Development and Max Ventana Ulster. The fourth project, Affirms Housing, The Orchard, was deemed ineligible due to the interest rate required by HCD. SDHC closed its $8.3 million loan in October 2020 at 4%. However, HCD required 3%. If Affirmed was to move forward with the interest rate change, it would have caused issues with IRS regulations and reporting. As a result, the Orchard was deemed ineligible. I would like to note, though, that even though the local housing trust funds could not be used for the project, the Housing Commission's loan of $8.3 million was not impacted. It was made up of other funding sources. Next slide. Here are the architect's renderings of the three projects that are currently under construction. Both Jamboree Housing's PSH at San Isidro and CHW's Oak Street Apartment 1 began construction in October 2020 and is expected to complete construction next month, October 2022. Kingdom Development and Max Ventana Al Sur closed construction financing last month and is now under construction. The project is anticipated to complete construction by August 2024. Next slide. In order to utilize the remaining local housing trust funds, the newly proposed fourth project is Cortez Hill Apartments. SDHC has a loan on the project totaling $5 million. The project is currently in process of closing construction financing and is expected to begin construction by the end of the calendar year. Next slide. Staff recommends that the board take the actions detailed in the staff report and shown on this slide and the next. Next slide. Next slide. This concludes the presentation. I'm available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. We will now take public comments from callers on this item. And Scott, do we have any callers at this time?
We do not have any callers on this item. Thank you.
This concludes the public comment period for item 101. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments on this item? All right, seeing none, I just had one question in the report. You mentioned that there was the fourth project that was ineligible due to the required interest rates. Can you talk a little bit about so what happened on that one originally?
So we closed the loan, our Housing Commission closed the loan in October 2020 at 4%, but HCD's regulations caused it to be, or they said it was 3%. So when we were going back and forth between HCD and the Housing Commission, we also were engaged with the legal counsel, and basically it kind of came out to be that if they were to make the funding swap and the interest rate change, then there would have been a quote unquote a material change, and that would have caused to allocate a large income event per IRS regulations. You know, so basically with the accounting firm Novogradac, our legal counsel, firm's legal counsel, it kind of made it that we couldn't continue moving forward with a firm's deal since it had already closed at 4% and changing it to 3%. Even though overall it should have been considered beneficial, it caused other issues for IRS regulations.
Yeah, I think that's the confusing part, is going from 4 to 3 should have been beneficial, but okay, all right.
Yeah, the large income event is what it's, when you go into the accounting side of things, it's definitely makes it more confusing, quote unquote.
Yeah, that is confusing. So I commend you for you seem to have your arms around it, so that's fine. So all right. Any further comments or questions? If not, do I have a motion on this item?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Benvenuto.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Klempner. This motion and second are to approve item 101. As I say your name, please state your vote on the motion. Vice Chair Klempner.
Aye.
Commissioner Benvenuto.
Aye.
Commissioner Vasquez.
Aye.
I will add my vote in favor. Commissioner Hester and Commissioner Hubbard are absent. So the motion passes with a 4-0 vote in favor. The next item on the agenda is item 103, the approval of a contract with Urban Street Angels to operate the city's interim shelter bed program for transition aged youth. The phone line is now open for public comment about item 103. please call 833-610-2513 to be placed in the queue. No written comments, public comments were submitted regarding this item. And again, the number is 833-610-2513. We will take public comments after the staff presentation, and Vice President of Administration for Homelessness Initiatives, Casey Snell, will present this item with Special Program Manager and Senior Policy Advisor Jonathan Herrera joining for the presentation. Casey and Jonathan, begin when you are ready.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. We are here today to present staff's recommendation to approve the fiscal year 2023 agreement between the San Diego Housing Commission and Urban Street Angels, or USA, to operate the City of San Diego interim shelter bed program for transition age youth. Next slide, please. The Housing Commission administers the contracts for the City of San Diego's interim shelter bed program for transition age youth based on a memorandum of understanding with the City of San Diego. First took effect on June 16, 2020. In fiscal year 2021, the Housing Commission entered into a sole source agreement for a 6-month term with USA to create a 19-bed interim shelter for transition age youth located in downtown San Diego at a site controlled by USA. In fiscal year 2022, the Housing Commission entered into another sole source agreement with USA for a 1-year term of July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. A 90-day extension was issued to continue operations from July 1st, 2022 through September 30th. The program supports the vision and implementation of the Community Action Plan on Homelessness, which prioritizes meeting the needs of youth experiencing homelessness. Next slide, please. Urban Street Angels has developed a program design that leverages privately raised funds and existing in-house supportive services to provide a comprehensive network of resources and service connections. The service model includes outreach and engagement, case management and housing navigation, mental health care, life skills, employment services, transportation assistance, and peer mentorships. Next slide, please. Basic shelter services include, but are not limited to, appropriate residential services and staffing, a maximum of 19 beds, a minimum of 2 meals per day, showers, wash stations, restrooms, laundry facilities, routine operating and supplies, telephone access and message services, regular laundered linens, mail service, support service referrals, and assistance in accessing permanent or longer term housing resources. Next slide, please.
The Housing Commission utilized a non-competitive procurement process under Procurement Policy 9.4 to select the program operator. The program leverages existing site resources controlled by Urban Street Angels, as well as other cash and in-kind funds to support the program. A request for proposal process for this project would not have been viable as the program utilizes a site that is under lease by Urban Street Angels. The organization has been operating the program since its inception in January 2021. In addition, selecting a new operator may have adverse impacts on program operations and client stability. Next slide, please. USA specializes in the provision of services for transition age youth through short-term bridge housing, employment readiness programs, and 3 independent living facilities totaling 71 beds. The organization also has a strategic partnership with the County of San Diego Behavioral Health Services to connect clients with ongoing support systems. In fiscal year 2022, the program served 95 individuals, of whom 23 exited to a permanent or longer-term housing destination. Next slide. Operating costs for the initial contract term are $377,284 for the 9-month period from October 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. The funding sources include City of City Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Program funds. Future option years will be executed based on funding being available for that purpose. Next slide. Housing Commission staff recommend that the Board of Commissioners take the actions detailed in the staff report and shown on the following slides. Next slide. Next slide. That concludes our presentation, and we're happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Casey and Jonathan. We will now take any public comments from callers on this item. Do we have any callers at this time, Scott?
We do not have any callers. Thank you.
All right, this concludes the public comment period for item 103. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments about this item? All right, seeing none, before I go to a motion, I will just say this. It is when you research it, it looks like we have the 7th largest homeless youth population in the country. And contracts like this are essential. So, Casey and Jonathan, kudos on what you're doing. And I've had an opportunity to go out and see what Urban Angels, how they operate and what they do. And it is indeed essential. And the work, I give Eric and his team a lot of credit, the work they're doing to try and move transition age youth to being productive adults is truly incredible to watch, and their success has been great. So my kudos to them. With that, we'll look for a motion on item 103.
So moved.
Commissioner, motion by Commissioner Vasquez. Is there a second?
Second.
By Vice Chair Klumpner. All right, we will go ahead. As I say your name, please state your vote on the motion. Commissioner Klumpner.
Aye.
Commissioner Benvenuto.
Aye.
Commissioner Vasquez.
Aye.
I will add my aye vote in favor, and the motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Hubbard and Hester being absent. Okay. The phone line is now open for public comments about the closed session agenda. You can dial the number on the screen, 833-610-2513 to be placed in the queue. The phone line will remain open for about 90 seconds for members of the public to call in. No written public comments were submitted for this closed session. Again, the number is 833-610-2513. Mr. Christensen, would you please announce the closed session agenda for this morning? You're on mute if you're announcing it.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The closed session agenda today is item Roman numeral 4 on the special meeting agenda, which is a conference with legal counsel concerning existing litigation. And that is one matter entitled San Diego Tenant Union and Darlissa McDowell versus San Diego Housing Commission. That's San Diego Superior Court case number 2019-0001252 CUWM Central. And we will discuss the status of that litigation in closed session after public comment, if any.
Okay. We will now take any public comments from callers about the closed session agenda. Scott Marshall, are there any callers at this time?
We do not have any callers. Thank you.
This concludes the public comment period for the closed session. After the closed session, the board will reconvene in open session, and the General Counsel, Chuck Christensen, will announce the actions taken during the closed session. We will now enter closed session. This is Mitch Mitchell, Chair of the San Diego Housing Commission Board of Commissioners. The board has concluded its closed session, is reconvening an open session at 10:37 a.m. Housing Commission General Counsel Chuck Christensen will now announce the actions the board took in closed session. Chuck?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Housing Commission met in closed session to discuss this pending litigation. No action was taken. This matter was informational only.
Thank you very much, Chuck. And with that, this concludes the board's special meeting today. This meeting is adjourned officially at 10:38 a.m. Thank you to my fellow commissioners for your time and your attention today, and thank you to the staff for all you do to serve the city of San Diego community.
Thank you.
Thank you.